The cottage dates back to around 1849. This was built by the inmates of the nearby Darlinghurst Jail to house the wardens. So it has a colourful past and it's had many iterations over the years. Most recently, just before me, was an active sex worker premises. The cottage is located in the vibrant inner city suburb of Darlinghurst, here in Sydney. We're just one street back from Oxford Street, which is the iconic Mardi Gras parade route, and we're surrounded by restaurants, cafes, bars, and just a stone's throw away from the Sydney CBD. My name is Sam Eggleton and I'm the founder of Convict Interiors, based here in Sydney. This is my home and also my office. The renovation spawned my business. I live here with my very handsome man, Taco, the tuxedo cat. This is a fabulous community. This row of 7 terraces, almost the 7 dwarves. It's not uncommon for us to pop by with a bottle of wine on a Friday afternoon or catch the sunset over the skyline with a cocktail. I wanted to create a home that was warm and inviting and really welcomed in that rear to north aspect light. Using traditional materials in a tonal way really made the space not try to be something that it's not. When we first acquired the cottage, it was dark, it was clinical, there was white shiny tiles on the floor, the dark pine ceiling, and there was a rotting laminate kitchen. So the original floor plan, you walk directly into living dining. There was a small pokey kitchen tucked into the rear wing extension, and the bathroom and laundry combination quite impractical with an upstairs loft bedroom. We moved the cook zone from the bathroom wing over to the central location of the kitchen, making use of an old storage cupboard. We added a kitchen island, and that really tripled the usable workspace. We actually made the bathroom smaller, but by removing the laundry, moving the shower to the end of the bathroom, really made for a more practical floor plan. And upstairs in the loft bedroom, we found some extra space and we opened up and made use of that extra ceiling height. Looking from the street, the facade is quite unassuming. You enter into the main living and dining, which you can see straight out through to the courtyard. I work mainly from home, so perched right in front of the window looking out to the street. I've got my desk so I can catch the greenery and the beautiful light. These blinds allow me to shut the bottom half off and still allow in light, but just allows for some privacy. The first thing I actually bought was this stunning artwork by my pal Xander Holiday. His fun use of shapes in the artwork and the pops of colour really influenced how I styled the property. Finding a scratching post that doesn't look like typical cat furniture really plays into the artwork in the living room as well. We've orientated the room to place the sofa underneath the stairs. It almost feels like the stairs are giving you a big hug. Under the stairs, we discovered there was some unused space, so we popped on a secret door, and that's now become my shed. When we bought the place, the fireplaces were actually boarded up. So we opened them up, engaged a stonemason to match the sandstone on the front windowsill, and that just creates a great place to store plants and artwork. In between the 2 fireplaces, we've installed some custom joinery. So this matches their kitchen and the bathroom upstairs as well. Just creates a space to store all of the entertainment unit items and electrical. And hung above, we've gone with a Samsung frame. Just makes it feel a little less like a TV and less imposing. We built in some custom shelving just out of MDF and painted it the same colour as the wall to really feel as though it's always been there. And it's LED underlit, so it creates some beautiful ambient lighting at night. The kitchen really connects seamlessly to the living space. This kitchen island really tripled the workable size of the kitchen. I made an intentional choice with the placement of the oven and the microwave into this side of the island so that it's more hidden from the living and the courtyard. In what used to be a storage cupboard, we've now turned into extra workable kitchen space. The drawers right below the cooktop keeps the pots, utensils, and the spices within easy reach. One of the showpieces in the kitchen in terms of materials is the kitchen splashback. So I've opted for a Moroccan handmade tile, and they're intentfully irregular. So the pits, the tones, and the various shapes catch the light at different times throughout the day. The area where the old kitchen stood has become the wash zone. So it incorporates much needed, but albeit a really teeny dishwasher. We've got bins and coffee and smoothie prep area. The area above the sink presented some tricky roof lines, and it was difficult to build in some concealed cabinetry. So what we did was opt for open shelves to store everyday items and pulled that same timber finish from the floor up into the shelving. In this thoroughfare, we've also placed a pantry. It's slim, but because of the drawers, it's super functional. So where the washing machine was once in the middle of the bathroom, we've relocated it into a cupboard in this thoroughfare. And because of this, I've also been able to add a dryer stacked on top. There was previously a small acrylic skylight, didn't let a whole lot of light in, and there were security grills on that smaller skylight as well. Opening up that rear to north roof line just bathes this back part of the house in natural light all throughout the day. We've also got the ability to draw the shade to control the light throughout the day. This courtyard really is an extension of the living space. I use it all year round. We made the decision to colour block the exterior walls black. It's just such a striking contrast against the sandstone tiles and gives an illusion of enlarging the space. The bathroom is situated behind a pocket door in the rear wing of the property. A white on white bathroom can often present cold or clinical, but we avoided this by choosing matte surfaces for the sink and the tiles. The copper fixtures throughout add warmth, and they complement the accent stone tiles. An in-wall cistern toilet and wall-hung vanity expose more of the floor tiles, creating a more open feel. Most importantly, this created a spot underneath for Taco's kitty litter tray. The stairs in the living room leads up to the generous king-sized loft bedroom. One night there was a massive leak in the ceiling. This led us to discover there was some unused and untapped space within the attic. So what we did when replacing the ceiling was we raised the original 1.9 metre ceiling to a 3 metre cathedral style ceiling, creating a sense of grandeur. I really love the contrast of the clean, sharp lines of the new ceiling structure and the organic chimney stack and brickwork. On top of the architectural beams, we installed some LED lighting, which really uplights the space, creating a sense of height. Being up in the loft, it can get quite hot in summer. I searched high and low for a fan that would fit within the apex of the roof, but I just found the absolute perfect one. Designing for this room's awkward shape, we maximised the space and storage by building into the roofline. We actually reduced the size of the wardrobe, providing some additional floor space in the bedroom. Down by the side of the bed, bifold doors were a space-saving alternative to traditional sliders. From the hanging space, we actually installed some low drawers with open space on top to allow for, as you enter up the stairs, to see more of the roofline and create more of a sense of space. The Juliet balcony is a beautiful spot to catch the morning sun with a coffee and offers peak views of the Sydney skyline and the neighbourhood surrounds. When it comes to designing small spaces, I really just had a look at myself as a person and how I actually want to use the space. So through that, I created a list of all the features and functions that I'd like to incorporate into the property. And then I really had to come up with creative solutions of how that's all going to fit within those four walls. Don't be afraid to shift, repurpose or reuse certain spaces because every millimetre counts. And also you can't change the direction of the sun. So capturing as much light as you can with that aspect is just also so important in making a space feel bright and breezy.
For the design of Hidden Garden House, we were particularly inspired by Japanese temples and the hidden gardens and special places that you find in really dense cities like Tokyo. When you're living in the middle of the city, there's this hustle and urgency and energy to the life that happens around you. So we liked this idea of, in the middle of Darlinghurst in Sydney's bustling heart, providing this place that would bring peace and quiet and calm to our clients' lives. This terrace house is located in Darlinghurst, which is an inner city neighbourhood that's quite dense, just on the fringe of the Sydney CBD. And it's characterised by a lot of small terrace homes, pocket parks and really charming streets. The original house was built in the 1890s and it was originally workers' accommodation, as was really common in this neighbourhood at the time. More recently, into the 20th and 21st centuries, it was used as domestic housing. The house is the home to Laura and Ammon, who are a pair of creatives, alongside their dog and their cat. Our clients originally moved into the terrace and found it to be very dark, very damp and dilapidated. The original house was a two-storey terrace. The original staircase cut the terrace into two. Even though Laura and Ammon had an outdoor space, it was quite heavily overlooked by all of the neighbours. The stair was moved to the edge of the house, and so it sleeves in along one boundary, and beneath it we managed to tuck in the laundry and some bulk storage. We've also included our little hidden garden, so it's a courtyard that you can access from that easement laneway. The green roof sits where the previous deck was and crowns the new extension we have at the back of the terrace house. The bathroom was also relocated upstairs. You enter the house off this really charming Darlinghurst laneway. When you open the door, you get to see the living room and the hidden garden in the distance. Behind the front door, there's a series of little brass hooks designed and commissioned by Laura, along with the door hardware as part of the house. Right beside the front door, there's also a bench, which can be used as a seat or also to house different objects. So at the moment, it's home to Laura and Ammon's record player and speakers. In the front two rooms, we put down some Victorian ash floorboards, and they're a really light, bright, consistent timber, and so they help bring some warmth to the space. Laura commissioned a custom sofa for the space, so it's really well designed and proportioned to the room. In one corner, there's quite a petite bookshelf. And above that is a swinging potence lamp that can be tucked away or pulled out depending on where Laura and Ammon would like their light positioned. Stepping up into the dining space, the L-shaped bench wraps around to provide seating for a custom dining table. We worked with Laura and Ammon to design and commission a table that was a little bit narrower than normal but also quite long to fit the space. To the other side of the dining room, we have the laundry, which sits concealed beneath the stair. We also have a washer dryer, which is really space efficient. Tucked behind one of the fixed panels, there's also some extra storage. So it really makes the most of all of the room that we have behind and beneath those stairs. Right at the edge, the bench pulls to actually become the second step up to the kitchen. And there's an original stone block, which we found in the home's foundation, which forms the first step. Coming up into the kitchen, we step onto the new part of the house. We floated the idea of Laura, who's a ceramicist, making some tiles for the house. So her handmade terracotta tiles are also present on the floor of the kitchen. In the passageway, we have another custom design piece of furniture, which is a daybed that has a timber base. And Laura's also furnished this area really beautifully with a custom ceramic artwork that she made. The kitchen is the back of the terrace house, and it's got a brass bench top and folded custom integrated sink. All of the cabinetry is Victorian ash veneer, and we chose to not include any handles but instead do a shark nose edge pull on all of the joinery just to make it really sleek and calm and minimal. The gas stove sits directly on the countertop, which gives it a really seamless, minimal look. We actually have a concealed LED light strip, and that washes this really beautiful soft light down the back wall. Laura and Ammon were very willing to, sacrifice some of the things that we often have in our kitchen, so things like a microwave and a toaster, and they didn't feel the need for a large pantry or fridge. The really nice byproduct of this was that we were able to keep all the joinery really low and really minimal. That also means that the kitchen is really uncluttered and that the countertop doesn't end up crowded out with a million appliances. It was a really deliberate decision on behalf of ourselves and Laura and Ammon to make the garden ornamental rather than a place that you would go out and sit in. It's somewhat counterintuitive, but we often find that if you have less house and more garden, our homes often end up feeling more spacious, and that's just because you can sit inside at your dining room table or on your lounge and look out and get access to that light and greenery and sky. Because it has windows on all three sides, it provides really beautiful, soft, natural light to all of those spaces so that they don't need to rely on any artificial lighting during the day. And then in the kitchen, we have a big fixed piece of glass, which is complemented by a fixed ventilation solid panel that can help with cooking and smells and all of that kind of thing. For the courtyard design, we worked really closely with Kirsty Kendall, who's an incredible landscape architect. The crowning feature is the Japanese maple, which is a beautiful tree and one that changes throughout the seasons. There's a datum lime that we have which expresses Laura's tiles. And having those glazed tiles really enhances and complements the courtyard by drawing light and bouncing light around not just the courtyard but the interior of the home as well. We made a decision to raise the floor of the new extension, so the kitchen is actually about 450 millimetres higher than the previous kitchen and bathroom were. That allows us to drain the garden. The second thing it does is pulls us up closer to the light. The stairs are made from Victorian ash timber, and they wind their way up and around and then arrive in at the edge of the bathroom and the bedroom. We also decided to place a small window at the top of the stairs so that the staircase would be bathed in really soft natural light. The bathroom sits to the left. The tiles used in the bathroom are a really simple Japanese sugi tile that were actually a wastage product that we found, and they're also repeated down in the laundry as well. The toilet is tucked away into a timber block, and the shower sits hidden behind that in a tiled shower niche. The basin is actually almost like a lab sink, and it sits suspended off the wall with an exposed trap. We use brass tapware, which has a really beautiful warmth and patina that tends to become more lively and beautiful over time. The bathroom cabinet is hidden away, and it almost looks like it's part of the wall. When you push to open it, it reveals the mirror and the storage. The new window infills the old opening left by the door. The hidden shower also gets to enjoy this amazing slither of view across the green roof and to nearby terraces and greenery. The bottom half is fluted glass, which makes it private but also still brings the light in. And then the top half is operable so that you can welcome in some natural air. The main bedroom space is a really simple room with a higher raked ceiling, and it feels even more generous because the bed is quite low in the space. Beside the bed, Laura and Ammon have installed these incredibly beautiful wall-mounted reading lights so that they can tuck up in bed and enjoy a book. The wardrobe contains a few different sections. So there's a section where Laura and Ammon store their shorter and folded clothes, and then a long hanging section. But that space also functions like their linen cupboard, their garage storing camping gear and things like that. There's a saying we like to paraphrase at Trius, which is that the greenest building is the one that already exists. When we're working with existing homes, we have the opportunity to reimagine and reinvent them. We can keep the character of the places that already exist, and it's almost like we're adding a new chapter in that building's history. When we're designing small spaces, something we always try and do is really minimise the material palette and the design decisions that we make. So of course you still want to have light and brightness and air happening in the building, but it's also really important that it doesn't end up being too busy and fussy. Simplicity is absolutely key, and so making sure that what we choose is really restrained and really calm and uncluttered makes for a far more calm living environment.
We made this for you, you know. This chunky little magazine is jam-packed with all the things you love. It's designy, it's delicious. It's a little bit naughty in all the right ways. Sexy small apartments, creative characters, and delicious design. Get all the ideas and inspiration you want and need for joyful, compact, and creative city living. And get it delivered to your door 4 times a year with free shipping. That's hot.
Simplicity is something that I strive for. So there's a process of finding the most simple, practical, and high-performance solution. So in a small space, that becomes very important because there's no room for extravagance, there's no room for excess. There is a need to make the space livable and delightful. I'm Ed Lippman, I'm the founder of Lippman Partnership, and Mitch, my son, asked me to help him renovate his apartment. The apartment is in Darlinghurst, which is an inner city part of Sydney. It's a dense, populated neighbourhood, close to restaurants and shops, and very close to the central business district. Mitch, his brief was, you know, he's a chef, so he wanted a good kitchen, and he wanted this mezzanine bed. And the other requirement that he insisted on was that this should be good enough to appear on Never Too Small. Luckily, I satisfied the brief. This building was originally a Reader's Digest warehouse. It was converted into a residential apartment building 50 years later. That's why it's as high as it is. It's 3.6 metre ceiling. The goal of the design was to do more with less. We used a lot of timber because it's a sustainable material, it smells nice. So we just wanted to keep the palette very simple. Originally, when we first saw the apartment, it was pokey and dark, the light fittings were pretty ugly. The bed was in a room. The kitchen was a galley kitchen, there was an island, which made the space a bit smaller. In terms of the layout of the space, it's not very different to what was here before, but the major move that we made, we elevated the loft so that the space below the bed was usable. Around the perimeter of that undercroft, there's clothing, wardrobe, and a desk, which has a window. The bedroom overlooks the living room, so that's very grand and luxurious. When you come through the front door, you walk through the storage wall. There is a sort of a sense of arrival. With the bathroom on the right, the loft bedroom up the stairs right there, entrance to the study, wardrobe and the living room. It's a couple of steps away, there's space for shoes. The original floor was a vinyl floating floor, and we put down a new timber floor, which is similar to the joinery. There's really only one material that we've used in this apartment, and that's timber. I try to always get the lines working through a piece of joinery. Try to integrate the horizontal lines. It's a purely visual thing. I think it adds some beauty. It was really important that that storage wall in the kitchen incorporates not just the kitchen but also storage area. And then taking the joinery up to the ceiling. There are things that you may not need to get access to every day of the week, and so I make use of that space. The joinery is new, and as you can imagine, an old building like this, the floor's not level, the ceiling's not level. It's got to be custom designed and got to make allowances for all these sort of defects in the old building. The mirrored splashback is a good idea in a small space, so that when you've got your back to your guests, you can still see them, and it also makes the room feel bigger. The stainless steel bench, given the fact that Mitch is a chef, that's what he's accustomed to. The fridge was here before. The gas cooktop was being thrown out by a friend of mine who was renovating his apartment. It's much more practical to have deep, wide drawers. Easier to get into the back of them, and it's also more practical to have one wide drawer than two narrow drawers. Mitch, he found the table nearby and lugged it in with the help of a friend, I think. The chairs were also second-hand. The aluminium uplight is part of the lighting strategy for the whole apartment. It's throwing light up to create a greater sense of space. It takes your eye through the space. It's parallel to the joinery so that it's kind of part of that service zone. The living area has been stripped back to its basics, so you can see the original structure. There are some beams in the space supporting the slab above, and the walls were as we found them. The living area talks to the bed loft, so you can sit up there and engage in what's happening down here. All the furniture was Mitch's doing. It's all second-hand. He got it off Marketplace. And it's quite eclectic. The apartment is suitable for flexibility. The choice of white is really just to make the space feel bigger. In a small apartment like this, our approach was just to keep it all very simple and to create the warmth with the timber. The shelving between the living room and the study, it creates that permeability and transparency through the space. Because the bed itself is elevated, there's sufficient headroom to walk under the mattress. It was a good use of space because it increased the usable floor area. On one side of the dressing area there's hanging space to create flexibility and transparency. The wardrobe space is not completely separated from the living room, so there's a timber screen, so you can get a sense that there's a room behind there. On the other side of the room, underneath the stairs, are storage cubicles. Space for shoes, jumpers and knitwear. No space is wasted. In the study area, once you're seated, you're in a nice cosy space, which reminds me of a caravan or a boat. It's another experience within the apartment. The bathroom hasn't been renovated yet, but it will be. The bathroom is functional as it is. There's a small bathtub, a shower, a washer dryer, a hand basin with some storage and a toilet. The mattress is raised above the platform for two reasons. Firstly, to make it easier to get into bed, and secondly, to create headroom in the space below. It's all made out of plywood. The floor, the bed base, the cupboards below, it's all one material, and it was made in the joiner's workshop and then brought here and assembled in pieces. We wanted to combine the bedroom loft with the living space. We needed some barrier to prevent an accident. We put some big timber shelves, which also act as a desk, so you can sit on the floor of the bed loft and dangle your feet and write your memoirs or read a book. It also creates a screen between the bed loft and the living room. The existing window was integrated with the platform. The platform doesn't actually meet the window. And the good thing about that is that it allows light through to the desk below. The approach to this project is to make things practical and livable and enjoyable to live in. So in a very small space like this, one has to work a bit harder. It's a place for one person or maybe a partner, so you don't really need to worry about privacy. Without those requirements, the space becomes much more luxurious because it's one big volume. Rather than demolishing a building like this and building a new residential flat building, it's more sustainable to actually convert buildings like this for new use.
This apartment is located in the inner west of Sydney in a suburb called Marrickville. Known by locals as the Warren because it's a sort of rabbit warren of an area. The apartment is in a 3-storey walk-up, built in 1960, and the unit is one of 18 in the building. This apartment is 49 square metres. The client had a very clear understanding of what they wanted. They wanted to carry the same ambience that was in this place already over to the renovation. However, he needed vast improvements to functionality. The client's style is anything but ubiquitous. It's completely personal. It's very loose. The client is certainly not interested in reductivism, and he will continue to accumulate things. So ample storage was very, very important. We removed a series of walls that divided the master bedroom from the rest of the apartment, and we shifted the sleeping space into what was the old bathroom. The old bathroom went into what was the old laundry, and what was the master bedroom became an art studio and a sleeping space for guests. By removing the walls, we decided to insert a really large storage pod into the centre of the unit. The new insertions were realised in mirror gold. The reflective gold is really quite dynamic in that it reflects the light and it amplifies the effect of all of the trees and the plants that the client has dotted around the apartment. Inserting the pod enabled us to demarcate spaces and distribute zones, and that pod contains all of his clothing, general dump storage, a laundry, art supplies, and also a niche where he can create art. We used black in the art space niche. It's quite reductive. It doesn't detract from the effect of the mirrored gold. It's much easier to keep clean with all of the mess related to the art, and there's some continuity because the front of the pod is imagined entirely in black. The sleeping nook is where the original bathroom was. We're conducive to fitting a queen bed. The gold panels make the sleeping nook feel like a much larger space than it otherwise would. The sleeping nook is elevated by 2 steps so that we can store a pull-out bed underneath, so that on the other side of the pod, a bed can be pulled out for guests, and the room can be shut off with the use of a curtain that retracts from the pod. The soft light that emanates from the junction of storage pod and the wall draws the eye through to the rear of the space. The client had a desire to have plants in every space within the apartment, and that included in the bathroom. So we created a small soaker tub cum shower, and then a secondary tub, if you like, to house a garden. We used the reflective white tile and a white shower curtain to create a very light, airy and bright space, which is offset with the polished gold tapware. The kitchen has all of the functionality and amenity of a regular kitchen, however it's completely concealed. All of the appliances are hidden because it was important that the kitchen be probably the most recessive component within the design. There's an underbench integrated fridge, oven, dishwasher, cooktop. There are no overhead storage. Instead, that space has been reserved for art to again help the kitchen blend into its environment. We decided to paint the walls in a semi-gloss rather than a flat paint, and the paint continues from the walls up to the ceiling. Even with all of the decoration, there's a calmness and a continuity to the space because the tile pervades every space. This sort of building stock has great access to light and to breeze, and by removing all of the partitioning in the apartment and starting the layout again, the spatial organisation again, we've unlocked a whole heap of new potential.
Hot damn! Jump on board for a wild ride into a world of colour, creativity, design and delight with this bold and beautiful issue of our magazine. First stop is Madrid, with Gone Architects who are bringing bathrooms back, and sexy too. And then we have some Neapolitan magic for you with La Photosintesi. Get ready to have your mind blown and your eyeballs elated with their imaginative approach to colour and design. Bellissimo! From the hot kitschy mess and magnificence of Memphis, Milano, to the pinky hues synonymous with the grandfather of Mexican modernism, Luis Barragan, we explore the language of colour, how colour and culture intersect and how colour builds desire too, with small home inspiration from Kuala Lumpur, Sydney and Naples, and a tour of Ricardo Bofill's Symphony of Terracotta and Turquoise, Walden 7. There's so much more inside, including expert advice on how best to welcome colour into the walls of your home, a typewriter with nipples, and nudie Rudy rugs. Wild! Get your copy now. Visit nevertoosmall.com/store.
I do feel in Australia that architecture suffers from being a little too private. In dense environments and on small sites, I think it's important for our buildings to breathe and open up to the rear laneway or a park or the street. My name is Dean Williams. I'm the director of Architect George, and I live here with my partner and my dog Monty. The house is located in Newtown, which is in Sydney's inner west. Newtown is a really quirky, diverse environment. There's a great sense of community in Newtown, and it's a great place to live. The original house was built in the 1930s. It would have been built as a modest workers' cottage, providing cost-effective housing for people in the Newtown area. The footprint of the home is 35 square metres, and with us adding the second story, the total size of the house is just under 60 square metres. We lived in the home for about 2 or 3 years before we undertook the renovation. The key priorities for us was a house that was generous in its connections to the outdoors and to sunlight and views of the garden and the community. The building was livable. However, it was very enclosed, very small, and had a series of pokey rooms, but the structure was in relatively good condition. When you walked through the front door, you entered into a small living space, which was completely disconnected from the rear courtyard. And then upstairs, there was a small attic accessed by a pull-down ladder, which is where we used to sleep. Removing a few internal walls and a rear bathroom addition provided some dramatic improvements to the site. Upstairs, we retained the existing loft and added 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, and a small green roof to the back of the site. The house is in a heritage conservation area. We can't change the appearance of the street frontage, so all new works are at the rear of the site, hidden from view from the front street. The entrance to the house is raised from street level and opens directly into an open plan living space. The living room is retained at the front of the home, and we kept an original fireplace which was restored. The home uses engineered timber floorboards throughout in a dark brown to contrast all of the white textures of the internal living areas. The flooring continues throughout all rooms of the home to provide a seamless connection to all rooms to make the home feel larger. A new kitchen joinery is built around an original chimney breast. We specified a stone bench top for the kitchen island, the kitchen bench tops, and wrapping up as the splashback. On one side of the kitchen houses a dishwasher, sink, and all of the cooking facilities. The other side, under the stair, houses an integrated fridge, pantry, and a lot of the storage for the home. A thin stone island bench unit is located in the middle of the room to encourage a social place to gather when entertaining. From the kitchen to the dining room, there's a single step in the floor level, which provides this really nice delineation of the kitchen and dining functions, but connects them visually. We expose the beams of the ceiling above to give the sense of extra space. It's detailed in a way to provide shelves for books and household belongings. The dining room sits adjacent to a semi-internal light well that has dense greenery planted throughout. This light well drenches the dining space and kitchen with sunlight all day long. A new, smaller concrete block bathroom was positioned in a part of the courtyard that would have been otherwise unoccupiable because of the triangular nature of the site. The bathroom is a somewhat sculptural element in the garden, providing a curved mosaic shower with a glass skylight above. The roof of the bathroom is planted with greenery to grow over time and dangle down the concrete block walls and over the skylight. The curved shower is quite modest in size, but it kind of wraps around you like a warm hug. Tiles were only used where needed in the bathroom. The bathroom floor tiles use beautiful green terrazzo tiles to provide a seamless floor finish that looks almost like one single slab. On the first floor, the main bedroom is located at the rear of the home, overlooking the courtyard and out onto a small park with a community garden. On the other side of the room, we have floor-to-ceiling wardrobes, which provides all the storage for the bedroom. There's a hidden door from the bedroom out to the new green roof. When you're lying in bed, you can get this view out to the garden and to the rear park beyond. One of the key requirements of the brief from my partner was to reuse some stained glass panels from our old rear door. When the sun shines, you get these beautiful coloured patterns across the wall in the bedroom. A second bedroom is located in the old attic where we used to sleep. It's now been repurposed as a guest bedroom for family to stay with us, and Alex utilises this room as a home office. The bedroom is located in the pitch of the existing room, and we incorporated a new large skylight to provide access to light and ventilation to this room. We have full-width storage on one side of the room, which utilises the old roof space to provide a whole bunch of extra storage for the home. A second bathroom is located on the first floor at the top of the stair. We integrated a small north-facing window to provide great access to sunlight to the room all day long. The materials in this bathroom utilise the same materials as the ground floor bathroom for consistency. It's really nice to have a small courtyard in this part of Sydney in such a dense environment. Even though it has these awkward shapes and angles, it provides a seamless extension of the living spaces. We repurposed an old outhouse at the back of the site as our laundry, which houses a washing machine and storage for shed supplies. It was really important to upgrade and repurpose this existing house rather than demolish it. It provided a more cost-effective option to provide a new family contemporary home. It's also really important to maintain our historical connection to our cities by retaining our streetscapes. We deliberately make spaces smaller if it provides more opportunities for improved access to sunlight, the outdoors, and ventilation. Nothing has to be given up to live in a smaller home. We just need to readjust our thinking of what a comfortable contemporary home is, how big a bedroom needs to be, or how wide a doorway should be.
Beach Chalet employs a full bag of architectural tricks to conceal and reveal, hide and display. My primary influences are Japanese and Scandinavian architecture and interiors, and also the super efficient use of interiors within yachts and caravans and the inbuilt joinery that goes into those. My name is Matt Reynolds. I'm an architect and I make a lot of sawdust. I'm also the founder of Matter Studio, and I focus on architecture, interiors and furniture as well as art. And this is my apartment, Beach Chalet. Beach Chalet is located just up the hill from Bronte Beach and is on Gadigal land of the Eora Nation. The building was built in the 1970s and comprises 16 units, 4 studios and 12 two-bedroom apartments. I built a shed down in my carport prior to starting this renovation so that I then had an area in which to build everything myself. I learnt all of my carpentry skills from my dad and then employed those with my architectural background to create Beach Chalet. The apartment was quite run down, with a tiny hallway leading to a dining living area with a small kitchen beside the hallway. There were also 2 bedrooms and a rather tired bathroom, all of which were lacking storage, and no laundry, so I always had to do my washing downstairs in the communal laundry. I changed the floor plan by demolishing the wall separating the kitchen from the entry and removed the shower bath to make room for an internal laundry. The remaining spaces were adapted through the use of multifunctional joinery elements. As you enter the apartment, the front door houses a small art gallery. In lieu of the previously confining entry hallway, I introduced a genkan, or a Japanese space in which people enter the unit, sit down and remove their shoes. The seat also folds down, revealing long-term storage. The open plan living dining space is a multifunctional space. It also features plenty of display areas, including a floating bookshelf. It wraps around all of the walls in the living room, as well as every other room in the apartment, and acts as a device to bring the whole apartment together. Both elements of the 2-piece couch are mobile and can be reconfigured to become a queen-size bed or 2 single beds for guests. They can also turn around to become a bench seat for the dining table when I have 8 people over for dinner. The pegboard wall is a sliding panel that opens to reveal the TV as well as more display shelves and slides to the end of the apartment. The home gymnasium is concealed behind a curtain. The dining table has an end dedicated to working from home with plenty of power and USB outlets. I designed and built the suspended brass and Tassie oak light fitting, and it can be dimmed and changed with colours to suit my mood. The cook's kitchen has plenty of preparation space with full-size appliances, an integrated dishwasher. The cupboards above the breakfast bench are finished in a gloss black perspex to match the drawers and doors below the bench. The overhead cupboards on the window side are finished with clear perspex to allow the light to shine through from the window and through the glassware. And I've maximised storage everywhere I can find it. Beach Chalet has 2 bedrooms, the larger of which serving as the main bedroom. The raised platform has hidden long-term storage as well as easily accessible drawers. A wall of joinery provides a wardrobe, drawers and cupboard space for clothing. The mirrors on the wardrobe and at each end of the bedroom bounce light around the room and create a sense of more space. There's some hinged panels that block out light from a window above the bed. The pegboard wall allows plenty of flexibility on how to arrange artworks. The second bedroom doubles as a guest bedroom as well as a storage room for all my sports equipment. There's a built-in desk that folds down to allow the 2 single sofa beds to pull out when guests turn up. Like the main bedroom, it's also on a raised platform with skinny drawers that recede back underneath the platform. The bathroom was reconfigured by removing a step-in bath shower and replacing it with a full-size shower, which allowed me the room to introduce an internal laundry with a separate dryer and washer. The ceiling's made of Western red cedar to evoke the sense of being in a sauna when the steam hits it. A wall of mirrors bounce light around the bathroom as well. The balcony faces east towards the ocean views with a small garden of succulents and palms. I've also recently introduced a vertical herb garden to help feed myself and my guests. In response to the need to reduce the size of Australian homes, Beach Chalet is an example of smaller, smarter design. We need to reduce the amount of impact on landfill, on green open spaces with new development in Australia, and if we can repurpose existing apartment stock, then that's a better use of our built environment.
This apartment belongs to an elderly couple who relocated from the country. I like to joke that they moved from 250 acres to 38 square metres. This building is located in Darlinghurst in Sydney and is a circa 1920s building, and it was a distribution warehouse in its previous life. In the late 1990s, it was adapted for apartment living. The apartment was actually in very good condition. It just didn't have the required functionality or utility inherent within it for the needs of my client, Coral and Jim. This is a studio unit. By demarcating the space and providing a number of zones, we've given each occupant the opportunity for privacy or solitude. Given the age of my clients, it was important that all of the spaces were deemed accessible and compliant for a wheelchair. Coral and Jim are very well travelled. They worked overseas. Coral was a chef and is still a very keen cook. The kitchen has a lot of integrated functionality, both for its appliances but also for storage. And neatly, the kitchen appears to sort of float off the floor to give it a sense of lightness. The kitchen is very functional with fully integrated appliances like the refrigerator and the dishwasher. There's a large pull-out dining table that seats 5 guests. When that's put away, that enables more space in the living and more circulation space in the kitchen. The handle details are a cutaway rather than a protruding handle, and this appears en masse throughout the apartment, which creates a nice continuity. The kitchen joinery extends all the way through to a credenza, which lends itself to a 7-metre long worktop. The credenza provides ample storage for all of those things that the clients didn't want to part with, photo albums, books, and the like. The clients very much opted to favour storage. There's a lengthy hallway, flanked either side by storage. On one side is the integrated laundry, a linen cupboard, and some miscellaneous storage. And on the other side is the his and her wardrobe. The secondary space is primarily a bedroom. The bedroom is accessed by each occupant from one side only. So Jim has his own side and Coral has her own side. And that's because we needed a large enough hallway and a deep enough storage block that the bed came quite close down to the wall. The flip-down bedsides mean that that can be tucked away when converted to an office space. Jim is a very keen writer and requested a separate zone. So we used a large sliding door with frosted panels so that he could have private space to be able to do the things that he likes to do. The sliding screen serves 3 distinct purposes. One is to bring light into the spaces that it closes off. The first space that it closes off is the bedroom, and the second space that it closes off is the hallway, which can become a changing room off the bathroom. We were very fortunate that the bathroom was a large size. We've maintained the idea of accessibility if that's a requirement in the future. There's underfloor heating, heated towel rails, integrated lighting, and a really, really large shower space with provision for a shower seat for the future if they need that. We decided to stop all of the new joinery insertions at 2.2 metres high. And what this does is lends itself to the feeling of more height. What we've done in the bathroom is bring the ceiling down to that level and then make use of all of the space above the bathroom for their storage of wine and for things that you really need, like your luggage. Given the magnitude of the downsize, it was a nice opportunity for them to pick as much of the fittings and fixtures as possible. Things like the red sink in the kitchen, the dotted tiles on the bathroom floor, and it was the client's preference for ceiling fans over mechanical air conditioning. We moved all of the lights off the ceiling so it'd be much easier to change the light fixture. And the fold-down seat is great when you're on your way in and out of the unit, and it's nice and close to a pull-out shoe drawer. We designed to ensure that everything was easily accessible. The bed, for instance, doesn't need to go away. It can stay down and be a bedroom. The storage space above the bathroom by the ladder, it's there now, but it's not a necessity. It was really lovely to be able to design for Coral and Jim. Not only are they thinking very clearly about what they need now, but they're also thinking about what they're going to need in the future. This is their 28th place of residence, and they're adamant that this will be their last place. They're very happy here.
This apartment was built in 1926 and was originally designed for the jockeys who worked around the corner at Randwick Racecourse. This included a lot of original fixtures and fittings such as brasswork and terrazzo stone tiles. This apartment is the first owned home of myself and my husband Josh, and we share it with our little dogs Billy and Remy. It was very important to preserve the natural character of this building. That's what drew us to the space in the first place. The natural light surrounded by the timber sash windows led into the heritage nature of the building, and that, along with some other fixtures and fittings, really encouraged us to stay in an Art Deco style interior. This project was designed for us to work functionally today, but we were also very mindful of how it could work in the future for small families. This apartment's internal footprint is just over 50 square metres. The existing ceilings in the living room and bedroom space are a real feature throughout the apartment. This was something that we fell in love with immediately when walking through the space. The layout has retained its original configuration, except for the removal of a 500mm thick wall in the kitchen dining space. This has allowed us to add in over 3 times the amount of storage, an integrated laundry, as well as some new appliances. By creating a neutral palette between the floor, wall and ceiling, it allowed us an opportunity to put in some bold colours and really make the brass fixtures the highlight of the space. The furniture within the living room is again of a very neutral palette, allowing the character of the space to speak for itself. In the kitchen space, we removed the 500mm thick wall, thus opening up the whole dining and kitchen area. We were able to raise the floor not only to get all of the plumbing work across to the laundry space, but this also created a zone of demarcation. We've emphasised this zone as a separate area to the rest of the apartment by going with a different floor finish seen in the grey floor tile, as well as accentuating this step by adding a brass trim to the front of the step. The main functional requirement of this space was to fit in as much storage as possible within the kitchen. We've included a full-size induction cooktop and oven within the space. This leads into an integrated microwave cavity as well as an inclusion of a brand new laundry space. This laundry space has a continuation of the engineered stone benchtop so that we can include all of our appliances in this area as well. Next to this is an integrated fridge, freezer, as well as a cleverly concealed pantry. This pantry is against a wonky wall, which proved a real challenge for the joiner, but has maximised the storage space within the kitchen. Opposite the pantry is our dining zone, featuring our custom banquette seat. This stone top continues from the bench top down into a waterfall onto the top of a custom designed upholstery unit. The back piece is hung off the wall rather than connected to the base, which creates a sense of lightness by negative space. Additionally, we have a lot of storage underneath this, which is always helpful in a small apartment. The finishes throughout the kitchen design have been carefully considered to tie in with those original features which we first fell in love with. One of my favourite features in this apartment design is the brass shelving over the sink. The continuation of brass handles as well as a brass tap have been left unsealed so that they can gradually patina with age. The pink splashback tiles tie in with the pink terrazzo floor steps upon the entry to the apartment unit. The sliding glass door proportions have been designed so that when they're opened, it completely conceals the exhaust unit, and when closed, again creates a very seamless pattern which continues up into the linear bulkhead. This fluted glass is a tie back to the Art Deco nature of the apartment design. We kept the original bathroom door but changed the mechanism from a swing pivot door into a concealed sliding door, thus creating more circulation within the bathroom. One of the main features within this bathroom is how much storage has been considered and added into the room. Not only do you have a typical vanity which includes a large pull-out drawer, an overhead mirrored shaving cabinet and some low storage underneath, and also the addition of the brass shelf. It creates a long, slimline look continuing from the entry leading all the way into the bath area. The inclusion of a bath within the space was not only a huge win for myself, but also for future young families. To get a bath within this tiny 1.4 metre wide bathroom area, we had to cut a hole in the living room wall and feed the bath into the space. The layout of the bedroom is very simple, maximising the use of the floor space. The integration of full height joinery conceals our wardrobe. Because we have a lot of natural light in the bedroom and sunroom space, we've been able to do the black floor trims, the black skirting, the black window frames, as well as a black feature artwork to create a much more moodier interior scheme. The original French glass doors lead into the sunroom from the bedroom space. The sunroom is a dual-purpose room which serves as an office, a plant nursery, and as well as another casual zone. The shelving in the sunroom has been directly mounted to the walls, which maximises the floor space. The daybed there is a full-size single bed, which could be pulled out into a double bed if we have any guests staying over. When it comes to small space design, Strut Studio's philosophy is that it has to be all about function and pairing that also with comfort. We've included a low back sofa, which allows the visual connection between the living space and the kitchen to remain. By keeping this sofa low and on the ground, it's quite heavy in its aesthetic, but balancing that with the grey toned fabric, it blends into the grey walls seamlessly. All of the table units have skinny metal legs on them, which creates as much visible floor space as possible in the zones. We've changed this design philosophy slightly by using white floorboards, white ceilings, and grey walls. The white ceilings and floors also elevated the rooms, thus maximising the appearance of the space we have. The design of compartment number 3 was all about respecting the heritage nature of this apartment block. Modernising this space for our contemporary style of living was easily achieved without changing the layout too much. Keeping the landscape filled with these beautiful heritage and Art Deco style buildings is very important to me and as an interior architect, as it adds to the fabric of our society.